The wind screamed across the endless white desert. Snow and ice stretched farther than the eye could see, a land where no life should exist. The sky was heavy with gray clouds, and the sun was nothing more than a pale circle, weak and distant. Every breath turned to frost in the air. She walked through this frozen world with her child in her arms. Her legs shook, her body weak, but she did not stop. She could not stop. The child clung to her chest, wrapped in layers of cloth that were already hard with ice. His breathing was shallow. Each breath was shorter than the one before. Her heart broke with every sound that came from his lips. He was too young, too fragile. The cold was stronger than both of them. The mother whispered, "Stay with me. Please stay with me." But deep inside she believed the ice would claim them both. The planet was cruel. The storms never ended. The land itself wanted to bury everything under layers of frozen death. Even the strongest of her kind avoided these places. Yet here she was because she had no choice. Her people lived under strict galactic law. No one was allowed to interfere with the natural death of worlds like this one. No help, no mercy. Life was tested by the ice, and only the strongest were allowed to survive. To ask for help was forbidden. To give help was even worse. The punishment was death. But laws did not matter to a mother who carried her dying child. Her feet bled as she pushed forward. The snow swallowed her tracks as if she had never walked. The silence between the storms was worse than the screaming winds. It was the silence of death. The child coughed, his body shaking in her arms. She pressed him closer, trying to give him her own warmth, but her warmth was fading too. Her lips were blue, her fingers stiff. The storm grew stronger again, pushing against her body, forcing her back. The ground cracked beneath her feet. She froze in terror. The ice was splitting, a sharp sound echoed through the air. A long, jagged line opened across the ground. She gasped and held the child tighter as the ice broke apart. For a moment she thought it was the end. One more step and they would fall into the black water below. Water so cold it killed in seconds. Tears burned in her eyes only to freeze on her cheeks. Her voice broke. No, not now. Not like this. She wanted to scream. She wanted to beg the universe for mercy. But there was no one listening. At least that's what she thought. Through the blur of snow and storm, a shape appeared. At first she thought it was a shadow, maybe a trick of her freezing mind. But the shape grew clearer. A figure walking against the storm. A figure moving toward her. Her heart pounded. Who could survive out here? No one should. The figure was tall, covered in heavy clothing she had never seen before. The fabric was dark and strange, with lights that blinked softly on the chest and arms. The face was hidden under glass that glowed faintly, protecting against the storm. Her people did not look like this. It was a human. Her breath caught in her throat. She had heard of them. Fragile creatures compared to most species, yet filled with strange courage. They were outsiders, always interfering with things the galactic law forbade. Many called them dangerous. Many called them foolish. But what was a human doing here on this frozen world? The human moved closer, fighting the storm step by step. In his hands he carried a strange pack. He saw her standing on the edge of the crack, clutching her child. His movements quickened. The mother shook her head in fear. If he helped her, the law would kill him. If the patrols found him, they would both die. She opened her mouth to warn him away, but no sound came out. Her throat was too dry, her voice stolen by the storm. The human reached her. He didn't speak. He only looked at the child, then back at her. His eyes, behind the glass, were filled with something she had almost forgotten. Compassion. Slowly he reached into his pack and pulled out a small container. Inside steam rose, heat, food, life. He offered it to her with steady hands. Her body shook. She wanted to take it. She wanted to scream at him to leave. Both desires tore at her heart. The child coughed again, weaker this time. His eyes fluttered shut. She felt her world collapse. The human leaned closer, his voice muffled through the helmet, but clear enough to hear. He doesn't have much time. Her eyes filled with tears. She had to choose. Accept the forbidden help and risk everything, or obey the law and watch her child die in her arms. For a long moment, she could not move. The storm raged around them, the ice groaned beneath them, and the child's breath grew weaker. She thought the ice would claim them both. But now, a human stood before her. The human stood tall against the storm, his figure sharp against the white emptiness. His breath fogged the glass of his helmet, but his eyes never left the mother and her child. The fire of determination burned in them, even as snow buried his boots with every step. The alien mother felt her legs weaken. Her arms trembled from the weight of her child, but fear froze her more than the cold. Fear of what this meeting meant. No one was supposed to be here. The law forbade it. She had heard the stories. Humans were reckless. They interfered where no one dared. They broke the rules written by the Galactic Council. Rules older than our own people. Many worlds called humans troublemakers, but many also whispered that they were the only ones who still cared. And now, one of them stood before her. The human set down his pack carefully. He moved slowly, not rushing her. Every motion was calm, gentle, as if he understood her fear. He opened the pack and pulled out a device. It glowed softly, casting warm light against the storm. It was not just a lantern, it was a heater. Warm air spilled into the frozen world, pushing back the deadly cold. Her lips parted in disbelief. Warmth. Real warmth. The child stirred faintly in her arms. A soft sound escaped his throat, a sound that broke her heart. He was still alive, but fading. The human reached into his pack again and removed a container. He twisted the lid and offered it. Steam rose from inside, carrying a smell she did not know but instantly trusted. Food. Her body ached to reach out. Her hands shook as she looked at the human, then at the container. But her fear stopped her. If she accepted, she would break the law. If she accepted, the patrols might sense the fire, the warmth, the life that was not allowed here. Her voice cracked. You cannot. They will kill you." The human tilted his head slightly as if her words did not matter. His voice, soft and muffled by the helmet, reached her ears. "Better me than the child." The words struck her harder than the storm. She stared at him, searching for any sign of falsehood. But his eyes held only truth. Her child coughed again. His tiny chest barely lifted. She could feel his life slipping away. Her hands moved before her mind decided. She took the container. The heat stung her frozen fingers, but she held it close. Slowly, she pressed it to the child's lips. The child's mouth moved weakly, tasting the warmth, drinking just enough to spark a flicker of life. Tears filled her eyes. She whispered, "Thank you." The human nodded but said nothing more. Instead, he turned to the snow, gathering pieces of broken wood and strange material from his pack. He worked quickly, building something at their feet. Soon a fire roared to life, red and alive against the endless white. The flames danced wildly, fighting the storm. The heat wrapped around them, protecting them. But the fire carried danger too. She knew the predators of the ice would sense it. Creatures that lived in the cracks hidden in the shadows. Monsters that stalked any warmth. Her heart beat faster. She wanted to warn him, to tell him that fire was not safety here. But before she could speak, a sound cut through the storm. A low, deep growl. Her eyes widened. From the dark cracks in the distance, shapes began to move. Long, thin bodies sliding across the ice. Pale creatures with jaws filled with teeth sharp enough to crush bone. The human stood slowly, turning his head toward the sound. He saw them too. He reached into his pack and pulled out a weapon. Not a blaster, but something older, more primitive. A blade made of shining metal, glowing faintly blue. The mother gasped. "You cannot fight them. They are many." The human's voice came steady, fearless. "Then we make sure they do not get close." The first predator lunged from the ice, teeth snapping. The human moved faster than she expected. His blade flashed, striking the beast in one clean arc. The creature screamed, its body falling into the snow. But more came. Their pale forms circled the fire, their glowing eyes reflecting hunger. The mother pressed her child against her chest, fear choking her. She wanted to run, but there was nowhere to go. Only endless ice. The human stood between her and the predators, his body a shield. Every muscle of his fragile frame burned with defiance. The storm howled louder. The fire cracked and spit sparks. The predators closed in. For a moment, the mother wondered if the human was mad. He was only one, facing many. But when she saw the way he stood, unshaken, blade ready, she felt something she had not felt in years. Hope. The predators attacked again. The human fought like a storm-given flesh. His blade cut through the air, striking, defending, pushing back the monsters. His breath came heavy, but his stance never faltered. Behind him, the mother whispered prayers to the frozen winds. Her child's breathing slowed, then steadied slightly in the warmth of the fire. The battle raged, snow-stained with shadows and blood. But slowly the predators retreated, their hunger unsatisfied. The fire was too strong. The human was too strong. Silence returned. Only the storm and the crackling fire remained. The human lowered his blade, his chest rising and falling. He turned to her, his eyes tired but steady. "Your child needs more than food," he said. "He needs air. Real air." The mother's heart stopped. How could this human know? How could he see the truth of her son's failing lungs? She held her child tighter, tears freezing on her face. And for the first time she believed this human was not here by chance. He was here for them. The flames rose higher, painting the ice with colors of red and gold. In the middle of the endless white storm, the fire looked almost unnatural, like a wound in the frozen world. The warmth spread across the mother's frozen skin, but along with it came fear. The fire was forbidden. She knew what it meant. Any heat, any unnatural light could be detected by the patrols in the sky. The galactic law was clear. Let the cold test life. Do not interfere. Do not resist. To make fire was to challenge the law itself. She wrapped her arms tighter around her child. His breathing was faint but steadier now, warmed by the human's gift. Still, every breath sounded painful, as if the air itself was cutting his lungs. The human fed the fire carefully, as if he had done this 1,000 times before. His hands moved with purpose, adding strange fuel from his pack that burned without smoke. He turned his head toward her, his voice low but clear through the storm. "Stay close to the heat. He needs it." The mother's lips trembled. She wanted to argue, to warn him that this fire could bring death from above. But when she looked into his eyes, she saw only calm determination. The kind of determination she had never seen in her own people. The storm screamed around them. Shadows shifted in the distance, but the predators did not return. "They feared the fire," she whispered. "Why are you here? Why would a human come to a place like this?" He paused, watching the flames dance. For a long moment he did not answer. Then softly he said, "Because someone has to." His words confused her. Was he truly risking his life just because he felt he had to? No reward, no safety, only danger. Yet he stood here, breaking the law, saving strangers. Her child coughed again, a weak cry that pierced her heart. She pressed her forehead against his, whispering comfort he could not hear. The human crouched beside her. From his pack he pulled out another device, small, metallic, glowing faintly blue. He held it carefully, almost with reverence. "This can help him breathe," he said. Her eyes widened in fear. "Nope, you cannot. That technology is banned. If the patrols sense it, they will come. They will kill you. They will kill us all." The human's jaw tightened. "If we do nothing, he dies anyway." The mother shook her head, torn between terror and hope. Her whole life she had been taught to obey the law, to never question it, to never fight it. But now, holding her dying child, she felt that law as nothing but a chain. The human placed the device gently on the ground. "This is not just about survival," he said. "It's about life, real life." Before she could respond, a sound cut through the storm, a deep hum from above. Her blood turned cold. She knew that sound. Patrol drones. The human froze, his eyes lifting to the sky. Tiny lights flickered in the distance, moving like hunters through the clouds. They were searching. The fire had drawn them. Panic gripped her chest. She clutched her child tighter, heart racing. If they found the fire, if they found the human, there would be no mercy. The human acted quickly. He grabbed a piece of ice and smothered the fire until only glowing embers remained. The warmth faded instantly, replaced by biting cold. The drones moved closer, their lights cutting through the storm. She could hear their mechanical voices scanning, reporting, searching. The human pulled her down into the shadows of the ice. They crouched together, hidden beneath a ridge. The child whimpered softly, and she covered his mouth, praying the drones would not hear. The human's hand rested on his blade, ready if they were discovered. His eyes narrowed, watching the patrols move. Minutes felt like hours. The drones circled, their light sweeping across the ice. But finally they turned away, moving back into the storm. The mother's chest heaved with relief, but fear still gripped her. She whispered, "Do you see now?
Fire is forbidden."
They will always come." The human shook his head. His voice was steady, almost fierce. Then we'll hide it better. But I will not let a child die because of their rules. His words echoed in her heart. A part of her wanted to argue, but another part, deep inside, felt the truth. The law did not care if her child lived or died. The human did. The storm quieted for a moment. The silence was heavy, broken only by the ragged breaths of the child. The human leaned forward, examining him with sharp eyes. He doesn't have long, he said. His lungs are freezing from the inside. He needs more than heat. He needs something stronger. The mother looked at the strange device lying between them. Her fear grew. If she allowed him to use it, they could both die. But if she refused, she knew what would happen. She looked at her child's face, pale, weak, innocent. Tears filled her eyes. She whispered, "What are you?" The human's gaze met hers. His words were quiet but powerful. Someone who refuses to let the ice win. She felt her heart tremble. For the first time she thought maybe, just maybe, there was something stronger than the law. But above them the storm rumbled again. Patrols were near. And the fire, though hidden, still glowed faintly. She realized the human was not only fighting the ice. He was fighting the entire galaxy. The storm howled again, carrying shards of ice like blades through the air. The mother clutched her child tightly, shielding him with her body. His tiny frame trembled, his breath shallow, each exhale weaker than the last. She could feel it, the thin thread of life slipping away. Her heart screamed with silent terror. She had no strength left to fight, no more prayers left to whisper. All she could do was hold him as the light in his eyes began to fade. The human knelt beside her, his helmet glowing faintly in the darkness. His eyes studied the child with a sharp, focused intensity. He pressed 2 fingers gently against the boy's chest, then leaned close to listen. His jaw tightened. "He's dying," the human said softly. "His lungs are freezing inside. The air here is too thin, too sharp. Every breath cuts him from within." The mother's body shook. "I know," she whispered. "But nothing can be done. The law says it is his fate." The human's gaze snapped toward her. His eyes burned with anger, not at her, but at the very words she spoke. "Fate? No, this isn't fate. This is cruelty dressed as law." Her lips trembled. She had lived her whole life under the rules of the Galactic Council. Never question. Never interfere. To disobey was to die. But here was a human, breaking every rule, defying every law, just to save a child who was not his own. The human reached into his pack again. From within he pulled a small case made of black metal, its surface marked with glowing lines. He opened it carefully, revealing strange tools and glowing vials. At the center lay a device unlike anything she had seen before. Small, silver, shaped like a shell with faint blue light pulsing inside. Her breath caught. She knew what it was, or at least what it must be. Forbidden technology. The human lifted it gently. "This is an artificial lung," he explained. His voice was calm, but there was weight in his words. "It can replace his failing lungs, give him breath again. But once I use it, once it activates, the law will know. The patrols will sense it." Her eyes widened with fear. "If they know, they will come. They will kill us all." The human met her gaze, steady and unflinching. "If I do nothing, he dies anyway. At least this gives him a chance." The storm seemed to fall silent around them, as if the world itself waited for her answer. Her child coughed weakly, a sound so fragile it broke her heart in 2. His small hand twitched against her chest, fingers icy cold. Tears streamed down her face, freezing on her cheeks. She looked at the human, then at the device. Her whole body trembled. She wanted to scream, to refuse, to run. But when she looked at her child, pale, weak, his chest barely rising, she knew the truth. If she obeyed the law, she would lose him. Her voice broke. "Do it," the human gave a single nod. He set the device on the ice, his hands moving quickly, preparing tools. His every movement was precise, practiced as if he had done this before. He did not hesitate, even though he knew the danger. The mother held her child close, whispering to him softly, "Stay with me. Please, stay with me." The human placed a mask over the child's face, attaching it to the device. A soft hum filled the air as the machine activated, blue light pulsing brighter. The child's chest rose weakly, then fell. For a terrifying moment, nothing happened. The mother's heart stopped. "Please," she begged, clutching her child. "Please breathe." The human's hands adjusted the device, his brow furrowed in concentration. He pressed a button and the shell-like lung expanded, glowing brighter. Then the child's chest lifted. A shaky breath escaped his lips. The mother gasped, her tears falling faster. The child took another breath, deeper this time. His small body relaxed slightly in her arms, his color returning faintly. "He's breathing," the human said softly. Relief flickered in his voice, though his eyes remained sharp. "The device is working," the mother sobbed, pressing her forehead to her child's. She whispered words of gratitude, words she never thought she would say to anyone, let alone a human. But the moment of relief did not last. From above, a sharp alarm echoed through the storm. Red lights flickered in the sky. The patrols had sensed the forbidden technology. The human's face hardened. He closed the case quickly, hiding the tools. "They're coming!" The mother's blood ran cold. She had feared this. She knew the law would never allow what just happened. Her arms tightened around her child. She whispered, "What have we done?" The human stood, gripping his blade in one hand, the glowing device in the other. His voice was steady, unshaken. "We've given him life," he said, "and now we run." The storm screamed louder, as if the world itself warned of what was coming. The patrols were near, hunting the forbidden spark of hope. The mother looked at the human, and for the first time she understood. He was not just saving her child. He was defying the very chains of the galaxy, and for that they would all pay the price. The red lights in the sky grew brighter, moving like angry eyes through the storm. The sound of patrol engines rolled across the frozen plains, a deep hum that made the ice tremble. The mother held her child tightly. The boy breathed with the help of the strange device, his chest rising and falling in a rhythm that brought her both relief and terror. Each glowing pulse of the artificial lung was a gift of life and a beacon of danger. The human knelt beside them, his hands moving quickly. He checked the device, adjusted its settings, and wrapped protective cloth around it to hide its light. His movements were calm, but his jaw was tight, his body tense. "They'll trace the signal," he said, voice low but firm. "We need to make it stronger, stable. If it fails now, he won't survive the run." The mother's heart pounded. "You mean you are not finished?" The human shook his head. "What I gave him is only temporary. A patch, not a cure. His body needs something permanent. I have to build it now." Her breath caught. Build? Here in the middle of the storm with patrols above? It sounded impossible. Yet when she looked into the human's eyes, she saw no hesitation. He opened his pack wide, spreading out strange pieces of metal, tubes, wires, and small vials of glowing liquid. To her they looked like scraps. To him they were hope, the mother whispered in fear. "If they find us while you work, they will," the human interrupted, his voice hard as steel. "That's why I have to finish before they arrive." The storm raged around them, the snow falling thicker, the wind cutting like knives. The human's hands worked fast, assembling parts with skill that seemed almost unnatural. Sparks flew as he joined metal to metal, strange symbols glowing faintly on the devices. The mother could only watch, torn between awe and terror. He was building something the law had forbidden for generations. He was rewriting fate with his bare hands. The child stirred in her arms. His breathing grew steadier but weak. His eyes opened slightly, gazing at her with a faint glimmer of life. She kissed his forehead, tears freezing on her skin. She whispered, "Hold on, my little one. Just a little longer." The human glanced at them briefly, then returned to his work. "I'll give him more than a little longer," he muttered. Minutes dragged like hours. The mother's ears strained for the sound of patrols, each hum in the distance making her flinch. She imagined soldiers landing with weapons, tearing the device from her child's body, punishing the human who dared to fight the law. Finally, the human lifted a nearly complete device. It was larger than the shell he had first used, with twin chambers that glowed with soft blue light. Tubes ran along its sides, connecting to small filters. It looked alive, as though it breathed on its own. "This will keep him alive," the human said, "not just for hours, but for years, long enough for his body to grow, to heal." The mother's voice shook. "You risk everything for him. Why?" "He is not your child." The human paused. His eyes met hers, steady and unyielding. "Because no child should die when there's a way to save them." "Law or no law." Her throat tightened. No one in her world would ever dare say such words. To defy the council was unthinkable. Yet here stood a human, ready to face death. only to protect a child not his own. Before she could respond, the storm split with sound. A blast of energy cut through the sky. The patrols had found their trail. The human's head snapped up. His hands moved faster, sealing the last pieces of the device. He shoved it into her arms. "Hold him steady. This will hurt, but it will save him." The mother's whole body trembled. She pressed her child close, whispering comfort. The boy whimpered weakly, unaware of the storm, unaware of the danger above. The human connected the device, attaching tubes to the small mask over the boy's mouth. The new artificial lungs pulsed with light, glowing brighter as they synchronized with the child's body. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the boy inhaled. The breath was strong, deep. His chest lifted higher than before, his color returning. The device hummed in rhythm with his body, creating a steady flow of life. The mother gasped, tears streaming down her face. He's alive." The human's lips curved into the faintest smile. Alive, and stronger than the law wants him to be. But there was no time to celebrate. A patrol ship broke through the clouds, its lights cutting across the ice. The human stood, grabbing his blade with one hand, his pack with the other. His voice was sharp, urgent. "We run. Now." The mother staggered to her feet, clutching her child tightly against her chest. The artificial lungs glowed beneath the cloth, hidden but still humming. Together they ran across the frozen plains. Behind them, the patrol ship descended, its engines roaring like thunder. The mother's legs burned, her breath ragged, but she forced herself forward. The human stayed close beside her, his presence a shield against the storm and the law alike. Above them, lights grew brighter. The galaxy had found them, and yet for the first time, she felt something stronger than fear. Hope. Because in her arms her child lived, and no patrol, no law, no frozen world could take that from her now. The frozen plains shook as the patrol ship descended. Its engines roared like thunder, shaking the ground beneath their feet. Red searchlights cut through the storm, sweeping across the endless white. The mother ran, her child held tightly against her chest. His new artificial lungs glowed faintly under the cloth, humming with life. Every steady breath he took gave her strength to keep moving. Beside her, the human sprinted across the ice. His heavy boots crunched against the frozen ground, his blade strapped at his side, his eyes locked forward. He moved with purpose, not fear. Behind them, the patrol ship released a swarm of drones. Small metallic shapes cut through the air, their wings slicing the storm. Their red eyes glowed as they scanned for life, for the forbidden signal of the device the human had built. The mother's heart pounded. "They're too close. We can't outrun them." The human didn't look back. "We don't outrun them. We outsmart them." The ice groaned beneath their feet. Cracks spread across the surface, deep black water lurking below. One wrong step and they would be swallowed whole. The human pointed toward the distance. Through the storm, faint shapes rose from the horizon. Tall cliffs of ice, jagged and sharp, forming the entrance to a hidden cave system. "There," he shouted. "The caves will hide us." The mother's legs burned, but she forced herself forward. Every step was agony, but she clutched her child tighter and pushed through. The boy stirred in her arms, breathing steadily with the help of the artificial lungs. The sound gave her the will to keep going. The first drone swooped low, scanning beams cutting across the snow. The human drew his blade, its blue light flashing. With one swift strike, he slashed through the drone, sparks exploding into the air. Another drone dove from above. The human grabbed the mother's arm, pulling her down as the drone fired a beam of light that scorched the ice. The ground shook, cracking open. She gasped, staring at the black water below. Cold death waited just beneath the surface. "Move," the human commanded. They raced toward the cliffs. The storm screamed louder, the snow falling so thick it blinded her. But the human led without hesitation, his movements sure, as if he had studied this frozen world for years. The drones swarmed closer, their hum filling the air. The mother ducked as one fired again, narrowly missing her head. Her child whimpered softly, sensing the danger even in his weak state. The human spun, hurling a piece of metal from his pack. It exploded in a burst of light, dazzling the drones. They scattered briefly, giving them precious seconds to run. At last, they reached the cliffs. Towering walls of ice loomed above them, sharp as blades. A narrow crack split the surface, leading into darkness. "In there," the human said, guiding her into the gap. They slipped inside, the storm muffled by the thick walls of ice. Darkness surrounded them, broken only by the faint glow of the child's artificial lungs. The cave was cold, but the wind could not reach them. The ground was uneven, the walls dripping with frozen water. Strange echoes filled the air as if the ice itself whispered. The mother collapsed against the wall, holding her child close. Her chest heaved with exhaustion, but relief washed over her. For the moment, they were hidden. The human crouched near the entrance, listening. The drones buzzed outside, their lights flashing against the cave walls, but none entered yet. "They'll search the caves," he said quietly. "We can't stay near the entrance. We need to go deeper." The mother's eyes widened. "Deeper? There are creatures in these caves. Things worse than the storm." The human looked back at her, his face shadowed beneath his helmet. "Then we face them. Better the beasts of the ice than the soldiers of the law." Reluctantly, she nodded. She stood, her legs trembling, and followed him deeper into the darkness. The caves twisted like a maze, narrow passages opening into wide chambers filled with jagged crystals of ice. The air was heavy and strange, echoing with distant sounds. The child slept against her chest, his breathing steady, the artificial lungs humming softly. Every hum was a reminder of the choice she had made, the choice that changed everything. But danger still lurked. A sudden roar shook the cave, deep and guttural. The ground vibrated beneath them. From the shadows ahead, two glowing eyes appeared, huge and unblinking. The mother froze. "No," she whispered. "An ice beast." The creature stepped forward, its body massive, covered in plates of frozen armor. Its jaws dripped with icy saliva, steam rising from its breath. The human stepped in front of her, blade ready. "Stay behind me," the beast roared, charging. The ground shook as it thundered forward. The human met it head-on, his blade slashing across its armored hide. Sparks flew, but the creature barely slowed. The mother pressed against the wall, clutching her child, fear choking her. The battle raged in front of her, human against monster, fragile flesh against frozen strength. The beast struck with claws sharp as spears. The human dodged, rolling across the ice, his blade flashing again. This time he struck its leg, cutting deep. The beast roared in pain, staggering. The cave shook with the sound. Cracks spread across the ceiling, ice falling in shards. "Run!" the human shouted. The mother didn't hesitate. She ran deeper into the cave, her child clutched tightly, her heart pounding. Behind her, the human fought the beast, his blade clashing against its icy armor. The echoes of their battle filled the cave, mingling with the distant hum of patrol drones still searching outside. The mother didn't know if the human could win. She didn't know if they would survive the cave. All she knew was that the ice wanted to claim them still. But her child breathed, and as long as he breathed, she would keep running. The cave shook as the roar of the ice beast echoed through the tunnels. Shards of frozen stone fell from the ceiling, scattering across the ground. The mother ran deeper into the darkness, clutching her child tightly. His artificial lungs glowed softly beneath the cloth, each pulse of light proof that he still lived. Behind her, she heard the clash of steel against claws, the shouts of the human and the beast's growls of fury. Every sound tore at her heart. He was fighting for them, for her child, risking his life in a battle that was not his. She wanted to stop. She wanted to turn back. But the human's voice echoed in her memory. "Stay behind me." Tears burned in her eyes as she stumbled forward, whispering to her son. "Hold on, just hold on." Then silence. The sudden quiet filled the cave, heavier than the storm outside. She froze, her body shaking. Was he dead? Did the beast win? A moment later, footsteps echoed behind her. She spun, her heart pounding. The human emerged from the shadows, his blade dripping with blue light, cracks of frozen blood staining his armor. His breathing was heavy, but his eyes were steady. "It's dead," he said simply. Relief flooded her body, so strong her knees almost gave out. You killed it?" His jaw tightened. "It almost killed me first." He glanced at her child, still breathing steadily. A small smile flickered across his face. "But we don't stop now. The patrols will find this place soon." Before she could reply, the cave lit with a red glow. Drones swarmed into the entrance, their beams slicing through the darkness. Behind them, the heavy footsteps of soldiers echoed, armored figures carrying weapons forged by the law. The mother's chest tightened. The galactic enforcers had arrived. The human stepped forward, his blade humming with energy. "Stay behind me," he said again. The soldiers advanced, their leader raising a hand. His voice boomed through the cave. "Surrender the child. Destroy the device. The law must be obeyed." The mother's heart ached. She knew what the law meant. If she obeyed, her child would die. If she refused, they would all be executed. Her hands shook. Fear clawed at her. She had always lived under the law. She had always believed it was unbreakable. But then she looked at her son. She heard the steady sound of his new lungs, saw the faint color returning to his cheeks. Life, fragile but real, burned in him again. The human stood tall before the soldiers, his voice sharp. "The law says let the weak die, but I say no child is weak if given a chance to live." The leader raised his weapon. "Then you have chosen death, human." Before he could fire, the mother stepped forward. Her body trembled, but her voice was clear. "No." The soldiers froze, shocked. Never had one of her kind defied the council so openly. She held her child high, her tears shining in the glow of the patrol lights. "Look at him!" He was dying. The ice was killing him, but now he breathes, he lives. If saving life is a crime, then the law itself is broken. Her voice echoed through the cave, strong and unyielding. The soldiers shifted uneasily. Some lowered their weapons slightly, their eyes uncertain. They were trained to obey, but her words struck something deeper. Truth. The leader snarled. "The law is eternal. Without it, there is chaos." The human stepped closer, his blade glowing bright. Maybe chaos is better than letting children die. Tension filled the cave, thick as the storm outside. The soldiers hesitated. Their leader raised his weapon again, but before he could act, the ground rumbled. The cave, weakened by battle, began to collapse. Cracks split the ceiling, ice and stone crashing down. "Run!" the human shouted. The mother clutched her child and sprinted toward the deeper tunnels. The human slashed at falling debris, clearing a path. The soldiers stumbled as the cave fell apart around them. At last, the three of them burst through a narrow passage, emerging into the open plains. Behind them, the cave collapsed completely, burying the soldiers inside. The storm swallowed the sound. The mother collapsed to her knees, holding her child tightly. He breathed steady and strong, his artificial lungs glowing like a beacon in the night. The human stood over them, his chest rising and falling, his blade lowered. He was exhausted, bruised, but alive. For a long moment, none of them spoke. Only the storm filled the silence. Finally, the mother lifted her gaze. "You saved him. You saved us both." The human shook his head. "No, you chose. You spoke against the law. You saved him." Her heart swelled. She had been a prisoner of fear her whole life, but now she felt something new. Freedom. She looked at her child, then at the human. "What will happen now?" He looked at the endless ice stretching before them, the storm still raging. "Now we keep running. As long as he breathes, we keep going. And maybe, one day, others will see that the law can be broken." The mother nodded, tears shining in her eyes. For the first time, she believed it. The ice had tried to claim them. The law had tried to chain them, but because of one human's defiance, her child lived. And with each breath he took, hope was born anew.